Hello everyone, in today's video we keep talking about uterine contractions. We are going to see how to understand them, how to know whether there is the right interval between them and whether they are the right length, so that you can know when it's best to call your midwife or go to the hospital. Let's start. Hello future parents, welcome to this channel. If you're new here instead, my name is Ilenia, I'm a midwife. I currently live and work in the United Kingdom and I've been a midwife now for 7 years, helping women all over the world during their pregnancy, birth and postpartum journey. So if this is the type of content that you like, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I already discussed about what is a uterine contraction and how to differentiate a Braxtonic contraction, for example, from a labor contraction into another video. I'm going to link it here. In this video though, I want to really go into depth about how to know whether these contractions are at the right interval and at the right length, so that you can know when to move, when to pack your bag, when to start moving, or when to call your midwife. A uterine contraction will pull the uterus up and then squeeze the baby and the fibers down in order to have your cervix more effaced and then dilate and then eventually get the baby out. Therefore, it can cause a bit of discomfort, and as the labor progresses, they will become longer and closer together. In order for the contraction to change the cervix, those will need to happen a lot for a certain amount of time and with a certain length and interval, because you might be having contractions every 20 minutes but for hours and hours, but maybe they're not enough to change your cervix. Or some women instead, or the opposite, maybe they have longer contractions but they're not effective, or vice versa, they're shorter. So it really depends. So it's very important that you know how to count the interval and the length of the contraction, because the first thing that is going to be asked to you once you call your midwife or once you go to the hospital, that they want to know in order for us to have an idea if you are, whether you are in labor or not, even before you have a cervical exam. I like to compare contractions to ocean waves. So the wave that will come nice and slowly to the shore, and then eventually the sea gets a little bit more wavy, so the waves becomes stronger and more intense, and therefore the contraction is the same. So it starts with a baseline, then it goes up, it reaches the peak, and then it goes down, and then it disappears again, just like the waves. In order to know how often your contractions are coming, you need to count the interval between them, and you do so by counting when the wave starts. So the beginning of the wave, let's say it's 10 to 4, that's a wave is starting, and then it goes up and it has a peak, and then it disappears, and then you have a break, and then another wave starts at 4 p.m. for example, and again it goes up, it has a peak, and then it goes away, and then 10 plus 4. So see, you're having a contraction, a wave every 10 minutes. So that is your interval at the moment. Now, the human body is not a machine, therefore you might be having every 9 minutes, and then every 11, then every 12, and then every 10. Roughly, your contractions are coming every 10 minutes, even if they're not exactly perfect. Maybe they will never be perfect, but that's okay. The female body is perfect the way it is. And if your contractions are at that interval, that is what your body needs. In order to count your contraction length instead, you have to start to count from when you feel the uterus, the tummy getting tight, and you start to feel discomfort until these peaks, and then it ends, and then the belly might be a little bit tight still, and then it's gone. So then your belly becomes soft and painless again. That is your length, your contraction length. The interval, as I was saying before, it starts usually every 20-30 minutes, and then it gets closer every 15, every 10 minutes. Once you're having contractions every 5 minutes, they might be good contractions to go into labor, but you need to have them for a certain amount of time, which is usually for a first baby an hour or 2, for a second or baby a bit less, like an hour. As I was saying before, some women never get to having contractions every 5 minutes in active labor. Maybe they're every 8, every 10 minutes, and they're enough. So until you're okay, until they're not painful and you can cope with them in your home, in your own environment, fine. You don't need to go to the hospital, even if they're every 5 minutes, to be honest, but you're still very fine with them. Don't go to the hospital. In terms of the length, Then usually in early labor they will start to be every 30-45 seconds long, and then they get up to 60-90 seconds as you go ahead with labor, and then when you get to transition and the pushing part. So they will get always a bit longer. If you have no idea and it confuses you and you're having contractions and you don't want to spend time timing them, which is absolutely fair, get your partner, your birth support, to time them for a little bit. You don't even need to time them for the 2 hours consecutive. Maybe time 3-4 contractions and then leave them be, and time them again after an hour has passed, just to have an idea if they've changed, if they're getting closer or longer. Or if you don't want to do any of these things, thankfully we have a lot of useful apps in either for Android or iPhones that are very, very good and easy to use, either for you or for your birth partner, where you just simply press start when the contraction starts and then stop when the contraction stops. And they're very good because they even make you some graph and trends, and they calculate automatically the length and the interval. So they're very good even to show to your midwife when you go to the hospital or when you call her. They're very handy, so worth to try. Don't be excited, don't get into the timing too soon. Let them establish for a little bit before you start to having the need and the necessity to time them, okay? Try to ignore them as much as you can. When they start to become uncomfortable, then it's worth to time them, and then it's worth to see how long they are, how often they come, and for how many hours they've been like that before you move to go to the hospital or to call your midwife. That's all for this video. I hope that it was helpful. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye.